Friends, today I am going to take the last session on measurement in production systems. You will appreciate that any measurement of any activity is very important. It is well said that in order to improve the performance of an activity, you need to measure it. Suppose you are giving a lecture. There is a need of improvement, and you can only meet if you know certain parameters, just like your communication skill, it may be your way of presentation the lecture, your depth of knowledge, your experience or your skill to control the class. All these comes your effective lecture delivery system. Similarly, in today's session, we are going to take some important aspect of measurement of production system. After today's session, we will try to explain all the aspects so that you should be able to understand the criteria for measurement and for business decisions. Similarly, you will be able to understand traditional performance criteria. We will also try to discuss certain limitations of traditional performance measures. Let us give you a very good example. A few years ago, one of the US automotive company finds ways to reduce waste by reducing solely to demand and in small batches and changing layout to reduce the material handling cost. Certainly, this strategy gives a positive results, including decrease in inventories and greater flexibility. Now, why the company was facing this problem? Because they are unable to measure the things. And when the cost accounting system, which measured results solely in terms of their effect on standardized financial criteria, showed bad results such as increase in indirect to direct labor ratios, non-productive labors, and decrease in overhead absorption. Since the system had no way of accounting for improvements, the experiment was considered a failure and was cancelled. Therefore, it can be said that decision making should be based on certain criteria compatible with the objectives and the outcome for those actions that should be assessed using the same criteria. What I mean to say that if you are going to implement certain activities or certain policies in your organization, you have to see what are its plus points and what are its minus points. Or in other way, you have to measure it. You have to see how good it is. Then only it would be beneficial to implement the policy in your organization. This is one of the figure which I just want to explain. If you just focus your attention, it is an objective which will provide you the criteria, then assessed or choose your course of action, how you will measure, what are the action you will take, Now we will assess the results and the decision for the future course. Now, what is the role of criteria in decision making? As I said, when you are going to implement any policy, you have to see how this decision making depends on certain criteria. Earlier, virtually all companies utilize standard cost accounting systems for measuring performance, but these systems rely upon the criteria that are outdated. If you focus on this point, you will find that only the criteria is not important, you need the updated criteria. These traditional criteria, when they are guided, the managers makes the decision that look beneficial, but in actual sense they are worthless to the organization. Now, what are the traditional performance criteria? Most criteria used today in performance monitoring systems were developed in early 1900s. The purpose of these criteria and the systems was to provide a standardized means of reporting performance to external groups such as internal review services, securities, exchange commission, and shareholder. These may be some of the criteria. Now, business maintain gross financial statistics such as net sales, fixed assets, liabilities, and so on for periodic reporting in places such as profit and loss statement and the balance sheet. Quantities like these can be used for making decisions that would improve the competitive standing. Traditional performance criteria often convey an image more contrived than real. The usual way for computing product cost is to add the direct cost of labor and materials to percentage of overhead cost. The overhead cost allocation is usually based on a percentage of direct labor hour. A decade ago, given the importance of direct cost, the companies established standards for labor rates and materials to help control these costs. Industrial engineers developed rates standard for every operation using time and motion study, and these rates became the standard by which the performance was measured. Managers saw their primary goal as trying to achieve these standards. Today, most of the cost of a product no longer comes from the direct labor but from the overhead. Yet, managers still pay plenty of attention to the former, that is direct labor, because of the attached overhead cost allocation. Each direct labor hour saved result in overhead cost saving on the books. Following are the traditional criteria commonly used for making decisions and measuring performance. Now let us say what we understand by direct labor productivity. Direct labor productivity measures like these emphasize and producing the output whether or not demand warrants it. Primary endeavor is on quantity at the expense of quality, customer service, and accumulation of inventory. You just remember this line. What we are doing, we are focusing on quantity. We are not worrying about the quality or customer service. Even we have least bother about the capital tied up in the stores. Thus, increasing a department's inventory is equivalent to increasing its earned revenue. The money which can be held as an inventory can be used to earn more revenues. Now, what is meant by overhead allocation and direct labor? Overhead costs that cannot be associated directly with particular output are allocated to the products. These costs include administrative, staff and plant expenses for management, research, engineering, marketing, utilities, maintenance and depreciation, as well as capital expenditure for equipment and facilities. Such costs are allocated throughout the organization, commonly as a percentage of every direct labor hour charged. Now, how you will do mathematically? If I say total labor hour, what does it mean? That means direct labor rate into 1 plus overhead rate. If I take example, if direct labor rate is rupees 30 per hour and the overhead rate is 500 percentage, so total labor rate will be 30 into 1 plus 5, that is 180 rupees per hour. That will be the total direct total labor rate. Just see, we are paying only rupees 30, but we are spending rupees 180 per hour on the labor. This method of allocation compels the manager to reduce the labor cost first, because you just see that it is from 30 to 180. So, focus of the manager in the traditional performance measure is to reduce the labor cost. In the process of reducing labor, the ratio of overhead to direct labor cost increases throughout the organization, requiring that other areas also look for ways to cut cost. It is worth noticing that this allocation technique puts effort on reducing labor rather than reducing overhead costs. Eventually, when there remain a little labor to cut, the company start thinking of reducing overhead cost also. Because if you just see or recall the previous equation, the weightage is should be on overhead cost. Now, another term which comes in the performance measurement is the machine utilization. Machine utilization can be defined as the ratio between the actual running time, that is minute per day of the machine, and the available time, that is minute per day. Therefore, machine utilization is equal to actual running time divided by the time available. Also, it can be otherwise defined as the ratio between actual output rate, that is unit per minute, and the standard output rate, that is unit per minute. Overhead is sometimes allocated to machine in proportion to their maximum output capacity. That implies that the machine with greater capacity are capable of absorbing greater overhead. Although high machine utilization is not redundant as long as it satisfies demand machine utilization for its sake, and that is the wasteful. Also, this criteria promotes procurement of high cost machine, hence fewer machines can be purchased, which in long run increases the complexity of job routing and the work in process inventory. Thus, in turn, it increases the production lead time. Another criteria are related to production and operation. Many companies set either weekly or monthly output or schedule requirements so as to give the largest positive vast variance, the greatest number of items shipped, or even the smallest possible lead time. The forementioned criteria are largely self-serving. If I take one example, one may calculate the lead time right from the time the order is received to the time of shipment. But this kind of measurement might appear always acceptably low to manager, while being unacceptably high to the customer. The customer might prefer to measure the lead time as follows. If I define the lead time, the time when customer received the product minus the time when the customer places the order. The criteria adopted will not necessarily satisfy the customer. This is, I am talking with reference to lead time. Another very important criteria is quality measurement. Today, many industries follow stringent quality measure to satisfy the need of the customer. But the ground reality is quite different, as it is difficult to know how the customers use its product or what the customer expects more from the manufacturer. As a company, though following the desired quality norms, might go out of the market for not having or satisfied the customers. That means the company should focus on the quality with respect to the customer. Hence, it can be concluded that the quality requirement must be gauged by the customer's needs. If I take the example of TV or mobile, you should gauge what is the expectation of customer, and on the basis of that you should try to measure the quality with respect to TV or laptop or mobile. Now, we have discussed the quality measures, we have discussed productivity measures. All these comes under the traditional quality measures or traditional performance measures. The traditional performance measures suffer most when it comes to the competitiveness. The limitations fall in three categories, that is emphasis on financial criteria, emphasis on piece of system, emphasis on the past and the present. Friends, now we will focus on the financial criteria. Traditional criteria try to measure overall performance in terms of finance, while financial criteria are definitely essential, but they alone do not present all realms of the performance. Hence, in the long run to achieve success, other criteria are also necessary for consideration when we are talking about the performance measurement of the production system. Various organizations emphasize on minimizing the capital expenditure and the labor cost without considering for its long-term effect. Emphasis on simple financial measures confine management from looking at the broader picture. If an organization plans to reduce waste or lead time, it must use decision criteria and performance measures compatible with all these goals. Now, how you will emphasize on pieces of the system? Traditional criteria separate organization into pieces, treating each as a independent entity or the body. Each piece represents different departments in an organization which do not bother about the overall performance of the system, rather worried more of its own. The idea behind this is that if the individual performs well, this will certainly improve the overall performance of the system. This is of course opposite to the dynamics of the universal system behavior, that is optimizing the subsystem performance does not optimize. How you will emphasize on the past and on the present? Traditional measurement criteria emphasize performance in the recent review periods. It also persuades action to achieve short-term goals. For example, outsourcing of certain components is made to reduce the planned operating expenses, which in turn result in larger dividends quickly. Similarly, activities like research and development of new products, procurement of new equipment are given zero credit with traditional measures as they increase immediate expenses. Traditional measures also discourage activities that create benefit in long term by ignoring the benefit of improvement efforts. Now we will focus on what is meant by enlightened measures. Organizational performance is specified by enlightenment measures. Some of these measures can be used for comparing organizations in terms of world-class status, while some are presumed to be universally applicable. Each organization must select the measures that best highlight its goal. The measure should monitor all significant performance aspects of the organization, including its input, internal processes, final output, and the customer satisfaction. Doing well on one or few measures is not sufficient to allow general conclusion about the status of an organization, though doing well on many of them is a good indicator of world-class performance. Now, what we meant by performance measurement? Performance measurement facilitates ways towards measuring operating status and progress towards the goal. That means how we are going to achieve the goal, what are the measurements for achieving that goal that is considered under the performance measurement. Many organizations still consider traditional measurement system which overall emphasize on the financial criteria. This adopted strategy discourages management from achieving a strategic initiative for improving quality and hence thereby reducing the waste. In case of performance measurement, there exists a need for such criteria or measurement system that encourages competitiveness. One key element of such system is the use of enlightened measures. Development of enlightened measures start with looking outside the organization to see what customer or the market require, then designing the measures that will guide and motivate the action towards the strategic goals. When we talk about the enlightened measures, it also enhances the long-term improvement. The major purpose of this system are to present a balanced scorecard that gives a complete picture of status and the direction of the company in terms of both financial and non-financial measures. Let us define productivity. 3 enlightened measures of productivity, just like total headcount productivity, HCP, that means unit produced divided by total number of employees. Employees may be direct, indirect or administrative. Then we can also define units per payroll rupees. That means unit produced by total payroll rupees. If you just compare, both equations are same. Now value added per employee, that is total sales minus cost of material, cost of supplies, contracted work, that in one bracket divided by total number of employees. The particular features of these measures is that they eliminate the usual direct versus indirect labor distinction that push managers to treat direct labor and overhead cost as totally separable and to overly focus on the direct labor. The second term is asset utilization. Asset utilization is a measure of amount of assets necessary to generate income. Two such measures are return on total asset, that is net income plus in bracket interest expense into 1 minus tax rate divided by the average total assets. Therefore, we can define asset turnover as a net sales divided by average total assets. That will give you the asset turnover. If we define asset utilization, it simply means where averaging total assets is the average of assets at the beginning of year and at the end of year. Both measures are derived from the total asset figure on the balance sheet and from the net income and interest expenses figure on the income statement. Both measures eliminate the usual motivation to optimize profit on income statement at the expense of incurring or increasing the inventory on the balance sheet. In this session, we have described the performance measurement in an organization. As I said in the beginning, to bring improvement in the performance of an organization, we need to measure its performance. More than just a passive means of assessing what has already happened, the act of measurement serves to motivate particular behavior and hence predestine future outcome. In modern time, accounting systems have become primarily means by which organizations track and assess the performance. Thank you.